The hum of the stalwart's thrusters was a second heartbeat in my chest, a low thrumming counterpoint to the frantic staccato of pulse cannons splitting the void outside. My hands, calloused and quick, danced across the tactical console, targeting solutions locking onto jagged Xylos cruisers. We called them roaches, all chitinous angles and bristling weaponry, but they fought with a desperate ferocity that belied the dismissive nickname. Commander Thorne's voice, a gravelly rasp even through the calms, cut through the din. "Jax, focus. Heavy fire on our starboard flank. Get those fighter swarms off us." "On it, Commander." I barked back, my fingers flying. A barrage of micro-missiles lanced out from our bays, scattering the incoming Xylos swarm like startled insects. I lived for this, the precision, the chaos, the righteous fury of defending human space. For 6 cycles, I'd bled and fought for the collective, believing in the war, believing in the necessity of securing the Vortex Cores that powered our entire civilization, the very lifeblood of our star-spanning empire. We were told the Xylos were a parasitic blight, an alien species seeking to starve us, to seize our vital energy sources. Our war was just, our cause pure. I was a soldier, headstrong and determined, and doubt was a luxury I couldn't afford. The battle raged for another 30 minutes, a symphony of explosions and tearing metal, before the Xylos splintered and retreated. Their last remaining dreadnought, crippled and listing, began an uncontrolled descent towards the gas giant below. "Status report," Thorne ordered, his voice still tight with adrenaline. "Xylos forces routed, Commander." I reported, my breath coming in ragged gasps. "One dreadnought confirmed derelict. No FTL signature." "Excellent work, Jax. Helm, plot an intercept for that derelict. We need to salvage whatever tech we can before it burns up. And I want a full sweep for any surviving Xylos, dead or alive." A shiver, faint and illogical, traced its way down my spine. Salvage operations were routine, but something about this final, dying vessel felt different. Perhaps it was the sheer desperation of its last stand, or the strange, almost organic pulsing it emitted even as it fell apart. We boarded the Xylos dreadnought through a breach in its dorsal hull, my 20-man infiltration team moving with the practiced efficiency of a shadow. The ship was a tomb, its interior a chaotic tangle of ruptured conduits and flickering emergency lights. The air, thin and metallic, carried a faint, unsettling scent, like ozone mixed with something vegetal, earthy. We found no survivors, only the charred remnants of alien life, their segmented limbs locked in grotesque finality around control panels. "Nothing here, Commander," my squad leader, Sergeant Kale, reported into his comm. "Looks like they set detonation charges rather than be captured." "Keep looking," Thorne's voice crackled. "Their data logs might hold something valuable. Jax, you take the lower decks. Their energy conduits tend to be concentrated down there. See if there's anything left of their core systems." I nodded, gripping my pulse rifle. "Affirmative." The lower decks were a maze of twisting passages, narrower than human engineering, filled with strange, glowing glyphs etched into the walls. As I delved deeper, the air grew thicker, warmer, and the faint, vegetal scent intensified. It was like walking into a botanical garden that had been left to rot. Then I heard it, a low, resonant thrumming, far more powerful than any ship's drive. It wasn't mechanical. It vibrated in my teeth, in my bones. I followed the sound, pushing through a collapsed bulkhead into a vast, cavernous chamber. It was unlike anything I'd ever seen on a Xylos ship. No cold metal, no stark efficiency. This was organic. The walls pulsed with a soft, bioluminescent glow, the light shifting in hues of deep violet and emerald. At the center of the chamber, encased in a transparent, amber-like resin, was a pulsating mass. It was impossibly large, easily 15 meters across, and completely unlike the inert mineral vortex cores we drilled from planets. This was living.it pulsed slowly, rhythmically, like a colossal heart, sending out waves of energy that resonated with the very air. Strange, delicate tendrils, like roots or nerves, snaked out from its surface, disappearing into the walls. And woven around it, almost symbiotically, were the Xylos. Not just dead ones, but dozens, perhaps hundreds, enshrined within smaller amber cocoons, their bodies tangled into the tendrils, their expressions serene, almost beatific. I approached cautiously, my rifle still raised, but my finger hesitated on the trigger. There was something profoundly peaceful about the chamber, a stark contrast to the violence that had just consumed the ship. As I got closer, the vibrations intensified, bypassing my auditory sensors and entering my mind directly. Images, fragmented and fleeting, flashed into my consciousness. Nebulae blooming like cosmic flowers, galaxies spiraling in slow, eternal dances, the birth and death of stars. And then, a searing, overwhelming sensation of pain. Not my pain, their pain, the Xylos, and the pain of the colossal heart. My comm crackled. "Jax, what's your 20? I'm picking up some anomalous energy signatures from your position. What have you found?" It was Kale that I didn't answer. My eyes were fixed on the central mass. Its surface, previously smooth, now rippled, and a section of the translucent amber casing flickered, showing a delicate fracture. Through the crack, something small, crystalline, and impossibly complex was exposed. It pulsed with a faint, silvery light. And then I saw the data logs, not on a console, but integrated into the very structure of the chamber, projected directly into my optical interface. Xylos glyphs, but the collective's universal translator software, always running in my suit, began to interpret them. It started with technical data, energy readings, resonant frequencies, biological markers. Then it shifted to history, their history, the history of the Ethel, the great cosmic consciousness that humanity had mistakenly identified as a geological formation, a vortex core. This wasn't a mineral deposit. It was a living being, ancient beyond comprehension, spread across the galaxy, parts of its vast mind embedded in the cores of multiple planets. The Xylos were not invaders, not the parasitic enemy. They were the custodians. They lived in symbiosis with the Ethel, drawing sustenance and wisdom from it, in return for protecting its scattered fragments. The truth hit me with the force of a supernova. We weren't fighting for survival, that we were committing genocide. We were not harvesting energy. We were dismembering a living god, tearing apart the very fabric of cosmic consciousness, driving an entire sentient species, the Xylos, to desperate, suicidal acts to protect their deity, their ancestor, their home. The vortex cores that powered our homes, our ships, our very lives, were the dying screams of the Ethel. The constant hum of the stalwart's thrusters, the glow of the data screen before me. It was all derived from a prolonged, agonizing vivisection. The images in my mind sharpened. I saw Xylos' children, their small, segmented forms cradled against the glowing tendrils of the Ethel. I saw the Xylos elders, meditating in deep communion, their minds intertwined with the cosmic entity. I saw their horror as our drills pierced the planetary crusts, as our ships siphoned away the Ethel's lifeblood. The constant, unbearable agony that resonated through the fragments they tried to protect. The war wasn't about resources or territory. It was about a fundamental, horrific misunderstanding. Or worse, a deliberate deception. "Jax, respond, damn it. I'm getting a massive data spike from your position. What did you touch?" Kale's voice was laced with urgency, fear. I pulled back from the amber, my mind reeling. The implications were catastrophic. Everything I believed, everything I fought for, was a lie built on unimaginable horror. I was part of a civilization of cosmic butchers. "Negative," I said, my voice hoarse, barely a whisper. Nothing important, just some dead Xylos, a strange chamber. The energy signature is just residual." I lied, the words tasting like ash in my mouth. My headstrong nature, my determination, had now found a new, terrifying focus. I had to get this out. The collective had to know. The galaxy had to know. "All right, confirm and extract," Kale ordered, his tone still wary. "We're running out of time before this thing incinerates." I scrambled back through the access way, my comms still open to my squad, but my mind was miles away, racing, calculating. How to transmit this? How to make them believe? My military comms were encrypted, monitored. I couldn't just broadcast this without being instantly shut down, erased. I reached the boarding ramp, my squad already back on the stalwart. Kale looked at me, his brow furrowed. "You all right, Jax?" You look like you've seen a ghost." "Something like that," I muttered, shaking my head. Just the smell in there got to me. Back on the stalwart, I locked myself in my quarters, my mind a storm of horrified clarity. I pulled up what I could from the collective's restricted network, cross-referencing military reports with old geological surveys. The pieces clicked into place, forming a picture of devastating truth. The Vortex Cores were indeed found across multiple systems, always concentrated in planetary cores. The Xylos, always appearing to defend them. Not a fight for territory, but a desperate, losing battle to defend their god from us. The anger began to bubble, hot and corrosive. Not at the Xylos, the collective. At the monstrous lie that had defined my life, our lives. I knew what I had to do. My deter.